Welcome to Knowledge and Relationships on YouTube. This is your boy M3, and I have 3 places that you can go to, fixed locations where you can meet your soulmate in person. So, I'm going to start with the least to the greatest. So my least, I will start, is finding a person in church. Now, this advice goes for both men and for women. But I know realistically, when it comes to church, there's predominantly more women than men. So men do have an advantage over the women, but I'm gonna get to it, right? I'm gonna start with the pros and I'm gonna start with the cons. So the pros is, when you go to church, most people who go into church have a religious background. And so I will hope that in your mindset, you're going to church for the right reasons. But if you're going to find your soulmate, you're going to find someone that's going to be aligned with your spiritual beliefs. If you could find a godly man or a godly woman, then, life could be a little bit easier as long as you put God as the center of your relationships. Now, however, when it comes to the cons, not everybody, no one's perfect, basically. So not everybody can always be spiritually aligned 24/7. But there's so much pressure that people put in church, how we're supposed to act and how we're supposed to behave, that we tend to not be ourselves. And we're not able to be ourselves, it makes it hard for us to build a real and fundamental relationship with the opposite gender. So with that, I'm gonna go with the number 2. So the number 2 on the list is work. So it doesn't matter like what place that you work for. You could work for a hospital, you could work for whatever, fireman, whatever, right? The good part about work, finding your soulmate at your job versus finding ones at church is that at least you can kind of let your guard down and kind of be yourself. And there's little minimal restrictions. But there's this one restriction, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But let's focus on the pros. So the pros is that as you're working 8+ hours like a day, you have more time to spend time with the people that you work with. Whether you're doing projects, whether you're doing activities, you're getting to know that person as you're working and you're getting paid. So you might as well get paid by building relationships with them, right? And so as they get to know you and you get to know them, that's where I feel like the connection will begin. And so you build fundamental relationships with your coworkers, and so that could lead into these relationships. Now, the con is you have to be careful when you decide to date your coworker, because if it doesn't go right, there's always Me Too, and I think there's called quid pro. And so you have to be careful, because you don't want to end up in a case where now you're going to HR to try to defend yourself from a sexual harassment case. So you gotta be very careful with that. So another con when you're dealing with someone with work, in any place, you're in a fixed location. This is like your social circle. But this is the place where you work at. You don't want to have a bad reputation at work and having your coworker slander you to other coworkers and disrupt like your flow of work. That's just not cool, and you don't want to get fired too, because if you get fired, then it's like now you gotta look for another job because you're not gonna have any money for the time being. So you gotta be careful when dating your coworkers and get involved into these relationships. A lot of people don't really recommend having those relationships with your coworkers. Some don't recommend like keeping coworkers at work and at a safe distance because of that. Now, the last one, which I feel like is the best one in my opinion. So, school is definitely number 1 in my mind, because with school, okay, you're going to school to try to get your education, to try to get your degree, or you're trying to go to school to get your trade. Now, along the way, you'll have classmates that you could do projects with. get to know, and sometimes, relationships build through school. Now, the reason why I would choose school over anything else is because the risk of the con is so lower than church, and definitely lower than going to work. Now, although you are still in a social circle with your classmates, but it's not too bad if things go wrong. So if you get into a relationship with somebody and things doesn't really work out, the worst case I would say is the person may transfer to a different school. You may transfer to a different school, and you may have to start over and build your social circle. But I know your main purpose is supposed to get your education anyways. So it's not going to affect you too much as long as you don't really get kicked out of school. That's all I can really think of as far as the worst thing that could possibly happen. And maybe I would say as a student, don't hook up with the teacher. That would probably be the worst thing, mainly for your teacher, but that'd probably be the worst thing to do. So, with that being said, if you guys have any other like thoughts, any other comments that you want to say, and if you agree or disagree, man, let me know in the comment section on YouTube. Like I said, these are the top 3 that came to my mind, but I'm for sure there's plenty of fixed locations that you guys probably already thought of. So don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, share my videos, and definitely subscribe to my channel on Knowledge and Relationships on YouTube. Thank you guys again, and see you guys soon.